Alright everyone, so I'm back with another video today, and this time we are going to be detailing my method for solo clearing the Midsummer Courtyard domain. And this is the domain where you can farm the at AR40, the 5-star variants for the Thunder Soother and Thundering Fury sets. So first, to start off, I'll just quickly go over why you would want to solo clear this dungeon. And in my opinion, you want to solo clear it because it's faster. Sometimes you are gonna want to do co-op, just to fuck around with other players because that's more fun. But other times, when you're in a bit of a time crunch, you don't have all day to spend, waiting for players to queue up, waiting for them to ready, to join the lobby, accept the invites. All that really adds up to a lot of time. And I know a lot of players I've been hearing are kind of just defaulting to doing co-op on this dungeon because there is a bit of a spike in difficulty when compared to the earlier dungeons. Not to say it's incredibly difficult anyway, or that my method for doing this is like some achievement or anything. I just kind of wanted to make this video because honestly I wanted to make another Genshin Impact video, as I am really enjoying the game, but I did want it to be on a topic that some players might actually find useful. And this is going to be just for those players who haven't tried solo clearing yet and have just stuck to co-op and maybe want to find out if solo clearing is viable for them. What would they have to do to solo clear it, and how much time can they save as opposed to doing it via co-op. So let's just get into it, and I'll detail some more important parts of the team and method I'm using and give a few tips and tricks further on when I'm in the dungeon. So to start off, for the building the team, to try to use a similar team that I use in this method, first is going to be your main DPS. Now, if you are farming this dungeon, it's likely because you would like those artifact sets for an Electro character, because that's what the Thunder Soother and the Thundering Fury artifact sets are geared towards. They're for Electro characters. But unfortunately, as you'll know if you farm this dungeon at all, Electro is not good in this dungeon because you take self damage when you apply Superconduct. So, and the first slot is likely going to be still your main Electro DPS in spite of this, unless you're running Fischl and for some reason you want these artifacts. Kuching or Razor is fine. They can both do well. I don't really know about Baidu, but I assume she's fine. I haven't seen her in this dungeon, so I don't know, but because of how Fischl's kit works, where you use her Q and then her bird stays around for the E and keeps inflicting Superconduct, it's just really, really bad because you don't take self damage when you inflict Superconduct via the animation of your Q. So when you'll notice, as I'm clearing this dungeon, when I use Kuching's Q, she won't take any self-damage from inflicting Superconduct via that. It's just when she uses her E that she takes the self-damage. And because Fischl's Q spawns an additional clone of Oz for her E, it's just really, really, really bad. So either go Kuching or Razor here, or of course if you have a Pyro DPS built, you don't really even need to be watching this video. Just use Diluc and clear it easily. But not everyone wants to invest their resources into characters they don't really enjoy to play. So this video is more geared towards those types of players. Now for the next slot in the team, really Jean is by far the best counterpart for this if you're using Kuching or Razor or an Electro DPS, because she allows them, one, she's Animo, and Animo does do, inflicting Swirl does do a great amount of damage in this dungeon to break down the slime cryo shields and the cryo abyss mage shields. And 2, more importantly, she's a healer. So she allows Kuching to do a great amount of DPS and then make up for the self-damage she takes by providing those heals. If you don't have Jean, you can always use Noelle for some heals in the Animo MC. That will take up an additional character slot, obviously, and you won't be using these 2 pyros for the attack bonus, but it's really not that big of a deal. You'll still clear the dungeon fine. And in the last slots of your team, you're just going to want any pyro character because that is the best reaction melt to break the cryo abyss mage and the cryo slime shield. Now, usually when I'm farming this dungeon, more optimally, I use Zhongling and Diluc, but because I know everyone doesn't have Diluc, they might be skeptical of like, oh, well, you only cleared it because of Diluc or whatever, you know. So I'm not going to use Diluc. I'm going to use Amber, who everyone has. She's way cuter anyway. And we're going to try the dungeon in this way. So let's just get into it, and I'll try to give you a few more tips, especially if you have Kuching and Jean. This is going to be a very helpful video for you. And you don't really need to start off with everyone's queue ready. It doesn't really, I mean, I'll show you where their queues are at. It's helpful, but it really doesn't matter. And how I like to start off this dungeon, if I do have the queue ready for Zhongling, is I will place the bear and immediately use the queue to try to max energy regen. And then after I do that, I will use Jean E and then Jean Q. And once I have the Q up, I will use Kuching's Q and then subsequently use the E. She's going to be taking a lot of self damage, but she's doing it in the heal circle. Now, if you're using a different healer, as long as it's not Barbara, because we don't want to apply wet status to ourselves to take cryo damage, or to take cryo damage from being frozen, right? So no Barbara, no Hydro if they self-apply wet status, okay? But any other healer will work. In here, you're just going to do a bit more switching, so that's how it's going to be different. But those were just some preliminary tips before we start. Let's just get into it. So we use this Q here, and we're going to place down her E. And when they're bunched up like that, it is quite helpful to try to go for Jean's E. Now I'm gonna go for Kuching's Q, and as you can see right there, she did not take any self damage. Now, but she is taking a lot of self damage from this, and you can actually use Jean's Q, as you saw right there, to deal additional swirl damage to their shields, which is very nice. Now, as you're killing these slimes and these abyss mages, you're really going to want to watch the ice spikes, which are coming from the floor underneath, that you don't get hit by those. And I mean, it's not a big deal if you do, you'll just take damage, but the more annoying part about it is that you do get trapped. Oh, well, I guess he regenerated. As you can see, I was very close to breaking his shield, but he did regenerate it. And see, you can see right there that swirl. That swirl worked wonders. So I'm just going to go for Kuching's Q here. And that is an annoying part about those spikes, is even if they don't trap you initially, you will still take damage if you run into them. Now, one last trick I would like to show is, first I'll just do this swirl right here. Where is he? If you do manage to get the Kuching falling, see, that does a very nice amount of damage to that shield, the Kuching falling sword plunge attack. And another final tip I'll give is if you can stall these guys by floating them with Jean's E, if you have her, you can get some additional energy regen orbs while you're stalling there to try to min-max energy gain for your next run. As you can see, my Pyronado is basically ready, Amber's Q is ready, and Kuching is not quite there on her Q, but it also doesn't matter because we're going to want to get Jean's Q up in our next run before we would use Kuching's Q anyway, if we're going to follow that path there. Oh, and we did get a 5-star, so we'll check that out. real quick here. Hope you don't mind that it's in the video. Let's see if it's any good. I believe it was a goblet. No good. It's no good. I did get this one earlier, which it has potential to be decent, as you can see if it rolled flat attack or critical damage in that final sub right there. So anyways, I hope the video was helpful to you, and maybe if you're still stuck doing co-op, it might have opened your eyes just a little bit to see like, hey, the dungeon is not too bad to clear solo. As you can see, I did it with a level 50 Xiangling and a level 16 Amber. All you really need is 2 fully built units. Kuching's stats are obviously, you know, pretty decent, as you can see, and Jean's stats are as well, so that really helps. But I think if you're at the point where you're going to be hardcore farming for 5-star artifacts, you likely will have 2 decently built units, and that's pretty much all you need, because you get Zhongling for free. She takes care of the pyro part of this dungeon for you, and then everyone has Amber, so you can just, you know, do what I did in the video and use that. And you can switch it around using the Animo MC and Noelle or another healer if you don't have Jean, and it will work just fine. So, as always, thanks a lot for watching. If you do have any suggestions for future videos or feedback on this video, or just general feedback, please feel free to leave any of that in the comments section below. And if you did enjoy the video, I would appreciate if you would give it a like, so I can get that feedback as well. And that's really all I have for you today. I just wanted to make another Genshin Impact video and have it be at least useful for some players. So thanks a lot for tuning in, and I will see you hopefully in the next video.